Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's edition of From the Boardroom to the Locker Room as we look back at a fantastic sporting weekend. And we start with fantastic news for South Africa's middle distance runner, Prudence Sekgogiso. She produced a spectacular performance yesterday, winning gold in the women's 800-meter final on the third and final day of the World Athletics Indoor Championships in Nanjing in China. Now, you might not have known or heard this name until From the Boardroom to the Locker Room, because last year we did speak about Prudence when we chatted about the Olympics and about South Africa's sporting stars and upcoming stars, and Prudence was one of the discussions, one of the people we spoke about when we talked Olympics and athletics in general. And here she is, young kid, brilliant performance by her. Not only did she win in a time of 1 minute 58.40, she shattered her own South African short track record of 1:59.88, which she set earlier in the year. It's also the 23-year-old's fastest indoor time in the world, and also the fastest time in the world this year, securing South Africa's second medal at the global showpiece after Friday night's performance by Akani Simbini. He earned bronze in the men's 60-meter final. Sekgogiso won comfortably, finishing nearly a full second ahead of Ethiopia's Negis Getachew, who grabbed silver, and Patrice Silva of Portugal took the bronze medal, all of them running under 2 minutes. And the men's long jump, Cheswell Johnson finished 12th with a leap of 7 meters and 64 centimeters, while Chris van Niekerk ended 14th in the men's shot put final. Great performance by the South African. The team does get back to South Africa tomorrow. Also, of course, following on the earlier records of Bayanda Walaza and Tumi Ramakgopa. They both did brilliantly, setting SA under 20 records. The ASA Grand Prix meeting in the men's 200 meters, the world junior champion Walaza stopped the clock at 20.08, clipping 0.02 off the national under 20 record of 20.10. So great results there by the South Africans, and may it long continue. Of course, this year the World Athletics Championships coming up, outdoor ones, and hopefully we'll have a strong complement of South Africans participating there. Motorsport news, and what a Grand Prix in Shanghai in China. A record crowd of 220,000 people, and controversy even 3 hours after the race ended. Let us first of all start with the way the race went. A victory for Oscar Piastri, and second place going to the McLaren of Lando Norris. A fantastic performance by the two of them. George Russell coming in third place and getting pretty close towards the end with regards to taking on Lando Norris at the end of the race. However, the drama all started 3 hours after the race with Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc and Pierre Gasly all disqualified from the race. The reasons that they were disqualified for various reasons. Leclerc and Gasly were disqualified for their cars being underweight, and Lewis Hamilton disqualified for the underside of his car being too thin at the end of the race. What an amazing Grand Prix. What a race. What a way for Piastri, who apparently is part Chinese. In a press conference on the weekend, he said that his great-great-grandfather was Chinese, so he got a bit of support, in fact, more support you can imagine. So the fact that the two Ferraris were disqualified means that Esteban Ocon moved up to 5th, Kimi Antonelli to 6th, Alex Albon to 7th, and Oliver Berman to 8th. Lance Stroll and Carlos Sainz were promoted to score points for 9th and 10th. It was a disastrous end to a weekend that had started so brilliantly for Ferrari when Lewis Hamilton took his maiden team sprint victory, just the team's first sprint victory, and of course his first victory in the red overalls of Ferrari. But the plank assembly skid plate, which is designed to wear away when the floor strikes against bumps and tracks on the curb, it was worn too much, which gave the car a better performance because it can run closer to the track, and it increased the ground effect downforce. So that is why it was disqualified, or his car was disqualified, which of course means he is as well. And then the other two drivers, their disqualification came due to the fact that both of them were underweight. Once they removed the fuel and everything from the car. Now they have to be 800 kilos, and they were both underweight. So Lando Norris now leads the championship after 2 race weekends with 44 points. Max Verstappen has 36, George Russell on 35, and Piastri now on 34. Russell was delighted with his third place. He said the car was probably one of his best. He and the car probably had one of their best weekends in Formula One in terms of performance, and he's very pleased with that. Four-time world champion Verstappen showed all his racecraft and experience to nurse his tyres to perfection, biding his time, and made his move on Leclerc just before the end. It didn't really matter because obviously Leclerc was eventually disqualified. Haas were much improved from Melbourne, where they ran 13th and 14th, finishing the 2 cars in the points with Ocon and rookie Oliver Ehrman. So amazing stuff. With Piastri winning the race from Norris, it's going to be a difficult job for Zak Brown this year. A very, very difficult job indeed to keep those two happy. At the moment, they are both in superb form. Perhaps, and Lando Norris fans might say I'm being a little bit silly here, but I think Piastri at the moment is showing a little bit more calmness and a little bit better performance than what Lando is, but we shall see. I mean, they are 2 outstanding drivers, and arguably of all the teams in Grand Prix, maybe besides Hamilton and Leclerc, they are the 2 closest drivers, with again Liam Lawson having a shocking weekend, Verstappen's partner, and so on. Now, Hamilton's plank, where Leclerc below 800, Ferrari pleaded innocence and said they had no intention to gain an advantage, but for them, unfortunately, they both were disqualified. Speculation is rife that the underperforming Liam Lawson may lose his Red Bull seat after just 2 races. Japan's Yuki Tsunoda could be promoted from the junior team RB in time for his home race weekend at Suzuka on the 4th to the 6th, according to reports. The 23-year-old Lawson has been knocked out in the first stage of all 3 qualifying sessions this season after stepping up from RB. The New Zealander has yet to score a point, while Max Verstappen in the other Red Bull is second in the title race with 36. Yuki Tsunoda has shown pace on both race weekends, only finishing out of the points yesterday because of his team's flawed 2-stop pit strategy. And even after just 2 weeks, Red Bull cannot afford to let McLaren, who are already 42 points ahead, run away with the constructors' standings. A downcast Lawson says he knows he is under threat. And Alex Albon declared he was very happy after celebrating his 29th birthday with a second top 10 GP finish this season with a vastly improved Williams underneath him. The Italian drove flawlessly in the Melbourne rain a week ago to finish a surprise 5th. He followed up another impeccable race to cross the line in China 9th, later promoted up to 7th. And Jack Doohan, the Australian Formula One rookie, who has yet to score a regular point from his 3 races to date, but the Alpine driver left the Chinese Grand Prix circuit with 4 penalty points on his super license. 22-year-old son of motorcycle great Mick was given 2 penalty points as well as a 10-second penalty for forcing Racing Bull's French rookie Isaac Hadjar off the track after trying to retake a position. That added to the 2 he collected on Saturday for a collision in the sprint race with Sauber's Brazilian rookie Gabriel Bortoleto. Any driver collecting 12 points in a 12-month period faces a 1-race ban. He said, unfortunately, it was unfortunate to receive the penalty they did, and they will revisit it to ensure it doesn't happen again. So, lots of drama from this weekend's Grand Prix, and long may the drama continue as we have a little break now until the Japanese Grand Prix in just under 2 weeks' time. We look forward to that. It's not the only motorsport coming up. Of course, on Sunday, they're back at the Circuit of Americas in Austin for the American Grand Prix. That's bikes. And then Sunday, the 6th of April, it's going to be an absolute cracker. The Japanese Grand Prix at the Suzuka International Race Course in Suzuka. And then it goes quick, because 6th of April is Japan, 13th of April is Bahrain, and then, of course, we move on to the 20th of April in Saudi Arabia, and then the 4th of May, they're into America in Miami Gardens for the Miami International, and then immediately after that, it's off to Europe for the Emilio E. Denzo Ferrari Autodrome Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. So lots of fantastic racing still to come. Right, that's not all that happened this weekend. The IPL got underway, and it was a weekend of mixed fortunes for the teams that were in action. In the opening game on Saturday, the Royal Challengers Bengaluru won by 7 wickets against the Kolkata Knight Riders. The Knight Riders were restricted to 174 for the loss of 8. And the Royal Challengers Bengaluru knocked those runs off, 177 for 3. Phil Saltz, 56. Virat Kohli not out, 59. The main contributors there for the Kolkata Knight Riders. Rahane got 56. Nareen got 44. Nobody else really got into the runs. And then yesterday, it was a doubleheader and two matches of contrasting fortunes because 155 for 9, the Mumbai Indians batting first on obviously what was a difficult track. Nobody really getting any runs. And then the Chennai Super Kings took until the 19th over, 19 overs and 1 ball to knock those 155 off the board. 158 for 6, winning by 4 wickets with Rachin Ravindra 65 not out and 53 for Gaikwad. As for the rest, nobody really did anything. Mahindra Singh Dhoni faced 2 deliveries, still playing. Didn't score a run, but didn't need to because their team were over the line. So great results there. Let's just have a look at some of the other results over the weekend. Namibia, they were up against Canada. They won by 8 wickets. New Zealand beat Pakistan convincingly. They scored 220 for 6 in their 20 overs and bowled the Pakistanis out for 105 to win by 115 runs. And the Australian women also scoring 204 for 3 in their 20 overs, bowling the New Zealand women out for 122. In South Africa, it was 4-day cricketing action. The match drawn between the Boerlands and the Lions. A lot of rain there, so only 2 innings was played in that one each. The game between the Impalas and the Rhinos won by 10 wickets. The Warriors and the Knights match drawn. The Titans against Western Province. Western Province won by 7 wickets, but I'd like to just tell you a little bit about this. So as far as the Titans are concerned, Luandre Pretorius, in his second first-class innings, scored his second 103, and he's only one of 4 players ever to have done that. And then obviously he had an opportunity to become the only player in South African cricketing history to score 300 in his first 3 knocks. But unfortunately he was out for 4 in the second innings. Dewald Brevis got 99. That has to be the worst number to get out on, although I've always said 99 is better than 98, and 100 is obviously better, but still scoring 99 off 110 deliveries, 16 fours and 3 sixes. However, it was not enough. There were 211 all out, and he almost scored half of his team's runs, as did Luandre Pretorius, incidentally, in the first innings as well. So 2 players in there really are showing their mettle as far as the match is concerned. And then, of course, the Western Province running out victors in that one by 7 wickets. And they really do have to do well to the Western Province to avoid relegation. 187 for 3. A 7-wicket victory. The game between the Storm and the Garden Route Badgers, well, that didn't happen because of inclement weather. And then the Dolphins won by 6 wickets against the Northwest Dragons. The Dolphins scoring 260 and 240 for 4. The Dragons 311 and then 186 all out. And the Tuskers won by 6 wickets against the Eastern Cape side. Great result as far as that is concerned. Now, the fixtures for this upcoming week, obviously IPL action every single day. Later on today, the Delhi Capitals play the Lucknow Supergiants. Tomorrow, the Gujarat Titans play the Punjab Kings. On a Wednesday, early in the morning, the New Zealand women play the Australian women. Australian A play England A in a T20 international, while New Zealand and Pakistan are in action, and the Rajasthan Royals play the Kolkata Knight Riders. And then it's back to 4-day action. The 27th, Western Province play Boerlands in a local derby. The Titans play the Dragons, and the Lions play the Dolphins. Those are all in Cricket South Africa's 4-day series Division 1 matches. And there's also the Sunrisers Hyderabad against the Lucknow Supergiants. And then on Friday, England and Australia's A teams play each other, and the Chennai Super Kings play the Royal Challengers Bengaluru. While the weekends, he's a double-header. New Zealand playing Pakistan early in the morning, and then the Gujarat Titans play the Mumbai Indians. And then on Sunday, it's the Delhi Capitals against the Sunrisers Hyderabad, the Rajasthan Royals against the Chennai Super Kings. And so the IPL continues for the next month and a half. You're listening to the edition of From the Boardroom to the Locker Room. We'll have more for you after these. Hi, I'm Louis Karpas. Join me on the next edition of From the Boardroom to the Locker Room when we talk cricket with Quinton Friend and Kunalan Subrayen. We talk to the two of them of the Dolphins. We'll chat to them about how their season has gone and what they can expect going forward for the rest of the season. That's the next edition of From the Boardroom to the Locker Room. Join me then. On to tennis news, and they're in Miami at the moment, playing the Miami event. An Australian Open champion, Madison Keys, has crashed out of the Miami Open, suffering a shot loss to a 19-year-old, the Filipino wildcard Alexandra Ila. The 17-year-old Russian Mira Andreeva also out, coming off the back of her WTA 1000 win in Dubai and Indian Wells. Lost in the third round, and her 13-match winning streak ended with a 3-set loss to the American Amanda Anisimova. The 6-4, 6-2 win for Ila over the fifth-seeded Keys prompted her to hug her team and celebrate passionately. She became the first woman from the Philippines to beat a top 10 opponent since the ranking system came into being in 1975. Ila, the 2022 US Open girls singles champion, has been based at the Rafael Nadal Academy in Mallorca since she was 13. And growing up, she said it was tough. You don't have anyone from where you are to pave the way. Of course, you have many people to look up to around the world, and she hopes it takes Filipino tennis to the next step. Keys, who was badly beaten by Aryna Sabalenka in the Indian Wells semi-final, conceded she was well short of her best form. Anisimova will now face Emma Raducanu after the British player won her match against her opponent McCarthy Kelser. She retired injured in the second set. Iga Swiatek overcame her determined Elise Mertens 7-6, 6-1 and takes her place in the last 16 of a WTA tournament for a record 25th straight event. The second-seeded Swiatek has not lost before the last 16 at this level since Cincinnati in 2021. On the men's side, Belgian veteran David Goffin, who eliminated world number 3 Carlos Alcaraz in the previous round, fell to American Brandon Nakashima. Greek Stefanos Tsitsipas, who won his first title in over a year last month, also was knocked out by the 24th American Sebastian Korda, and Bulgarian Grigor Dimitrov battled to a 6-7, 6-4, 7-5 win over Karan Khachanov in a contest in which the baseline predictably dominated. 38-year-old Frenchman Gael Monfils delighted his supporters, beating Spain's Jaume Munar 7-5, 5-7 and 7-6. And Britain's Jack Draper, the windward Indian Wells, came back to earth with a bump. He was beaten by the 54th ranked Czech Jakub Mensik in his match in the Miami Open. Right, golf news now. It was Norway's Victor Hovland who notched birdies on 3 of his final 5 holes, a shoot of 467, and win the Valspar Championship in Innsbruck's resort Copperhead course in Palm Harbor in Florida. Hovland, who had missed the cut in his previous 3 tournaments, finished at 11 under par 273 for a one-stroke victory over Justin Thomas. The 27-year-old has now 7 career victories. It's the first title since the 2023 Tour Championship, which capped a string of 3 victories in a 3-month stretch. Hovland had been 3 strokes off the pace on the backside before he heated up and Thomas fell away. And Richard Mansell sank a crucial birdie putt at the final hole to win his first DP World Tour title at the weather-hit Porsche Singapore Classic by a single stroke yesterday, needing to avoid a playoff with Japan's Keita Nakajima at the Laguna National Golf Resort Club. The Englishman reached the green in 2 at the par 5 18 to roll his eagle attempt to within 6 foot of the pin before holding his nerve to drain his winning putt to clinch his maiden DP World Tour title with a final round 6 under 66. He's 29 years old, and at 16 under, he won the Porsche Singapore Open. So great performance by him there. So the golf coming up this week. On the schedule, the players make their way to the Blair Athol Golf Estate in South Africa for the DNI Tour Championship, the Courier Guy Playoff Series. And then on the US PGA Tour, it's the Texas Children's Houston Open at the Memorial Park Golf Course in Houston. It's a wonderful event that raises millions of dollars for children's hospitals, and it is always a good one. And then the DP World Tour sees the Hero Indian Open that takes place this week as well. So the players in the East, they've moved from Thailand, Singapore and around that area, and they are now off to India. So lovely stuff as far as the golfers around the world are concerned. And just one other bit of news is that former Masters champion Patrick Reed has qualified for the British Open. He came second behind fellow live player Carlos Ortiz at the International Series in Macau. The Mexican also earned his spot at the major in Port Rush, Northern Ireland in July after holding off the American for a 3-shot victory at the Asian Tour event in southern China. Jason Cockrake also qualified as he finished third. The American was 1 shot ahead of the 2017 Masters champion And another Live player in Sergio Garcia, the Spaniard, missed a 3-foot putt for birdie on the last, which would have seen him tie and secure a place at the British Open through a countback based on his higher world ranking. But it is not to be. The Macau tournament was added this year to the Open qualifying series for the first time, with the top 3 players who are not already exempt earning a berth at the British Open. Live golf players do not earn world ranking points, severely restricting their chances of qualifying for golf's major. I can't believe that Sergio Garcia is not going to be at the British Open. That's going to be very sad. Maybe there's another way for him to get into the tournaments. Right. Let's have a look at rugby now, and the top 3 South African teams in the top 5. Well, it could be. We won't be able to say it with more certainty. If the DHL Stormers get across the line as winners against Ulster on Saturday, it will look like that, but it's starting to look more and more likely that South Africa could end up with 3 teams in the top 5 on the final Vodacom United Rugby Championship. After a weekend that championed just how highly competitive the competition has become, it was mostly a winning weekend for South Africa, with the Emirates Lions rather unlucky in Cardiff to be the only team that didn't win. More significant was that the result did to the log, with the Stormers' bonus point win in Llanelli being coupled with a defeat for Munster. That suddenly puts the higher reaches of the log now well within reach of the Stormers team that was near the bottom not long ago. The bonus point they clinched for scoring their late try propelled the Stormers into the top 8. Just 2 points separate them now from 5th place Munster, who have a much tougher run into the end of season. The same can be said for 6th place Cardiff, who clung to their position with their narrow home win over the Lions, but will have to be much better when they come to South Africa on a tour that features a game against the resurgent Stormers, who played some outstanding running rugby. There were a few anxious moments, in fact many along the way, but the 3 local sides all hit the target at the weekend. There was much lamenting at Hollywood-Bet's Kings Park over the quality of the Hollywood Sharks' performance against Zebra, but there was no one more critical of what his team produced than the Sharks coach John Plumtree himself. The Sharks played naive rugby, and listening to Plumtree speak afterwards, it was clear that they departed from the script that he had written for them. The bottom line is the Sharks did win, and they picked up 5 log points. Once again, they also won a close game, coming from behind in the last minute to clinch it, something they've got right repeatedly this season, where in the past it was the other way around. And we did mention while chatting to Andy Capistano in the program a few weeks ago, Siya Kolisi is playing the rugby of his life. He was outstanding, was Kolisi, once again. So let's go through those results for you. Ospreys 43, Connacht 40, Dragons 30, Ulster 34, Llanelli Scarlet 17, Stormers 29, Bulls 21, Leinster 20. Not the best return for R.G. Snyman and Jacques Nienaber. Great win for the Bulls over a very good Leinster side. Benetton 21, Edinburgh 18, Sharks 35, Zebras 34. Disappointing that they only won by a point. I mean, the Zebras are not the best team in the competition, but the Sharks really struggled. And then Friday evening, the Glasgow Warriors, who are doing so well this season, 28-25 wins over Munster, which of course helped everybody else. And then Cardiff beating the Lions scoring a try, which was disallowed, or maybe not given. I don't know which way you want to look at it as the last move of the game. Not too sure that the ref got that one right, but let's not cry over spilt milk, or let's not cry, should I say, over a missed try. Today, the action is fast and furious in the Varsity Cup. The Ikeys play the Shimlers, CUT play Wits, NWU play UJ, and the Marties play Tucks. Friday, it's back to sevens action, and then, of course, on the weekend, Friday night sees Ulster host the Stormers, Edinburgh play Dragons, and then on the Saturday, the Bulls are at home to Zebras. They should give them a bit of a smack. Connacht against Munster, Llanelli against Ospreys, the Sharks at home to Leinster. That's going to be a great game, that one. Benetton against Cardiff, and the Warriors, Glasgow Warriors against the Lions. If we have a look at the way the logs are sitting in the United Rugby Championship at the moment, so Leinster still top of the table. They've now lost their first game of the season after 12 in a row. The Bulls brought them down to earth. They have 58 points, still well ahead of the Warriors, who have 49 points. The Bulls in third with 45, the Sharks 44. So if the Sharks can pull one over Leinster, that'll secure their position in the top 4. Cardiff have got 35, so you could almost say that the Sharks' position is secure. And then Munster, Ospreys and the Stormers in the remaining places down to 8. The Stormers now a point ahead of Ulster, so an opportunity for the Stormers, of course, against Ulster to be a big swing there if the Stormers can win that one. And then they come home and they play 4 games, the last 4 games in a row on Stadium in front of their beloved home support. It should see them through, and you never know. The way the other results go, they might even get themselves up into the top 4, which of course would guarantee them the first of the knockout matches at home, which of course is always so very important as well. And then coming up as well, it is the Sevens. They're off to Hong Kong for the Hong Kong Sevens coming up this weekend, and Gino Cupido will make his debut for the Springbok Sevens team after being named in the squad for the trip to the East for the inclusion. He's one of 3 changes from the Vancouver squad made by Blitzbok coach Philip Snyman. But we will talk more about that in the next edition, or the preview edition of From the Boardroom to the Locker Room. Right, there was loads and loads of football this weekend. Lots of matches played in the UEFA Nations League as well as in the World Cup qualifiers. The most important one, of course, for Southern Africa was the fact that South Africa got a victory over Lesotho. That was a good position to put them top of the group for the World Cup qualifiers. In the European World Cup qualifiers, a great wins for Wales over Kazakhstan, Israel against Estonia, Czech Republic over the Faroe Islands, Montenegro beat Gibraltar, Norway beat Moldova, and North Macedonia beat Liechtenstein. And then, of course, as far as the fixtures are concerned, going forward for the week, Namibia play Equatorial Guinea tonight. Central African Republic play Mali. Guinea play Burkina Faso. Liberia play Sao Tome. Madagascar play Ghana. The Ivory Coast play Gambia. Ethiopia play Djibouti. And Tunisia play Malawi in the European World Cup qualifiers. Lithuania against Finland. Albania against Andorra. Bosnia-Herzegovina against Cyprus. England play Latvia. Poland against Malta, and San Marino play Romania. Tomorrow, Botswana plays Somalia. Benin plays South Africa. That game's in the Ivory Coast. Massive game for South Africa. Top of the table, South Africa. Benin in second place. South Africa, a win there could pull away from Benin. Angola play Cape Verde. Rwanda play Lesotho. Nigeria plays Zimbabwe. Uganda play Guinea. Cameroon, Libya. Sudan, South Sudan. Burundi, Seychelles. Egypt, Sierra Leone. Mauritania, DRC. Senegal, Togo. Algeria, Mozambique. Comoros, Chad. Morocco, Tanzania. Those are all the matches in the African World Cup qualifiers. And we'll bring you results as well as stories throughout the course of the week for the African World Cup qualifiers, the Nations Cup in Europe, and, of course, the World Cup qualifiers as well. Until next time, have yourself a pleasant evening, be nice to each other, and bye for now.